Good morning. This is Michele, Zaragoza team leader for Central Valley, Stockton, Lodi, Tracy, Manteca, Modesto, and we are here with our brokers today. I'm so excited about this. But you know what? Let's chat about what's going on. I heard somebody had a listing that had over 36 people in. That's pretty amazing. Still, it's happening. That's exciting. Is everybody getting that same reaction still? Do you see it's turning a little bit? I can't hear you.
I had a listing go live and Sunday was our first day of showings. And on a Sunday, I actually ended up being out there from 11 to 4 because it was just busy.
Really?
Yes.
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome. Activity, activity, activity. So I do know there's like somebody who is joining us, who's actually like a capper. And the reason why he's joining us is because we all come from abundance. We share our listings with other people to do open houses. So make sure you guys let the team leaders around the offices, right? Patty, Patrick, Renee, Barbara, and the ALC leaders. If you have a house, right, that needs an open house and you're not available, make sure you put it out there so we can find somebody to help you. And especially with the productivity coaching program, they can help. So you might even want to say, hey, one of the agents can shadow me too. So, you know, that's always fun. All right. Anybody else want to talk about your listings or any of the open houses or anything that's going on from the weekend? It was hot, but it's going to be really, really hot this weekend.
This coming weekend, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard Michele Ziller has a really good barbecue going on. Isn't that right? I can't hear you. Oh, man, you're muted, sister.
Yes, hot barbecue at my house.
Woo! She only lives 2 blocks away, so I'm going. Anyways, all right. So, Kris, what would you like me to share first, or do you want to chat a little bit?
No, let's start with the. I'm going to start with the open houses and showings for tomorrow.
Okay.
What the new rules are for tomorw.
All right. Now
I hope you guys are ready for all this.
I'm
There's
gonna
a lot of info.
I'm going to be the Vanna. I'm going to be the Vanna.
It's going to be a lot of info. We're going to go over the open houses. We're going to go over office reopenings for tomorrow, new and revised forms, a little bit on the tenant rights because there's not a lot going on with that yet. Forms are going to be gone. And then we're going to also go over the escrow checklist. In Modesto and Stockton, we pretty much have the same checklist now. So that's good. I only have one extra thing, but we'll go over all that. So as of tomorrow for open house and showings, there's pretty much no rules anymore other than wearing a mask. They did say that if during your regular showings, not open houses, if everyone is vaccinated, then you do not have to wear a mask. But if one person is not vaccinated during your showing, then everyone needs to wear a mask. And your sellers may say they still want some of the rules, okay? That's up to your sellers. For open houses, the only rule is everyone has to wear a mask. There is no social distancing or anything like that.
Kris, have you checked the local Stanislaus and San Joaquin? Are they all in compliance with this so far?
So far they are. They're following the state guidelines.
So that's the only thing that I want to point out is that we all need to make sure we check with the local ordinance where the property is held, just to make sure that they don't have stricter guidelines. I'm pretty sure most are probably pretty ready to do this, but just in case, just be aware that even though state guidelines say that, we need to check with the local.
Yeah, and that may change, so we have to check it daily before you go do any of the open houses. So now if you have...
Is there sound for everybody?
Can you guys hear me?
Can you not hear us, Steve?
I could hear.
Oh, who said that then? I'm sorry. I'm blind, so I can't tell who's talking.
Okay,
can
so
everyone hear? Okay.
This is Jen.
Okay.
Yes, I could hear it.
What was that?
Everything's good. Let's go ahead and move forward.
Okay.
I got
So you have a current listing right now, and you have the RLA-CAA with your listing package, you will need to go do a modification of terms. Okay. And the verbiage on the modification of terms is basically saying car form RLAA-CAA dated, whatever the date is terminated. The following showing requirements should be followed. Okay. I'm going to go over that again. Okay. For that. So, but you will need to do a modification of terms for the current listings.
If
Okay,
we have that coronavirus listing addendum in place that already has a certain seller signed set of rules, before we go doing open houses and changing the rules, we need to make sure that we modify that. Get the instructions from the seller is what she's trying to say.
Yes, and we'll be going over that again. Okay, so for opening the offices, like it shows on the screen, basically there's all the color coding goes away. Cities and counters can be more restrictive, but as of now, like we said, check daily, but as of now, they are going with what the state rules are. Okay. Oh, I put those in the wrong order. Sorry.
You're doing awesome.
So these are what I said about can change the make it more strict if they want. Say they have a health issue, they might want to keep some of the things in place, and that's up to your seller. And this does show where the verbiage is that I was talking about. Okay, so and about with the, if the seller still wants a PED signed, you will need to keep a copy of it. They are going to be gone. They are taking them off zip forms. So if those are things your seller still wants, be ready. Make sure you have a copy saved somewhere on your computer.
We will be emailing out a copy of this slideshow to everybody as well.
Yeah, and I did get a lot of this slideshow from CAR legal webinars. There's 2 of them on the new forms that we're going over, and there's this one on the new requirements too. But they're webinars. They're 1 hour long. If you guys want to go look, I believe I posted them to our Facebook page, and I sent out an email. Okay, so next page, Michele. And this is where you can go to get more information if you want on any of what we're going to talk about. And like we said, we'll send this out to you guys. Next page, Michele. Okay, now about the offices. So I'm saying what OSHA's rules are.
Okay, did you watch anything this morning on the news, Kris? It changed.
No, it did
Yeah.
again. Okay.
Changed. So
Oh,
yeah.
let you do that then.
So well,
Okay,
from
what-
my understanding then, whoever, well, they're saying that if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, even though there might be people in the office who aren't vaccinated. So who knows
Okay.
what tomorrow's going to bring, though? It could change tonight, because I guess they're voting on something tonight. But this was on KCRA at 4:30 this morning. That's what it was.
So we're going to need to verify all that with Cal OSHA to
Mhm.
make sure that that's, because I've heard that there's fake news out there. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding, everybody.
Right,
So,
right. Well, Cal OSHA, I didn't look at on their website, but I'm sure I've got some of my
well,
eyes on it.
and
So.
yeah, no, I'm sure it's pretty accurate. I was putting a little joke there, probably not a good joke. I'm sorry, everyone. But so what we need to keep in mind is that it is going to be changing. And as if we have an increase of outbreaks, we're probably going to go through another growing pain where things may change depending on how it goes. This is the plan. But then if we have, an increase in outbreaks, et cetera, then things may change. So just go with the flow and be patient with the process.
Yeah. So, and right now I'm not seeing anything where we can't allow people in. It doesn't say we have to take temperatures or anything anymore. On the webinar last Friday, Car Legal said it, if you want to, you can, but it's more of a pain. I want to do, the least obviously that we can following OSHA. And I will check on their site and check with Car with Gov to make sure nothing has changed too, or what has changed, and then get that out to everybody. And Rachel will get it out to Modesto, but we will get that. So I guess right now, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask anymore as of tomorrow. So that's all good. Other than that, we've pretty much been just complying. We'll
Right.
keep complying.
And bottom line is, we can't ask, oh, have you been vaccinated, right? That's a HIPAA law. So we just have to take it upon yourselves to, I mean, this is your life, right? So whatever you choose to do is perfect for you. And there's no judgment, no nothing. And just deal with it the way OSHA says, please.
Yeah, so weren't they saying before that, you know, even for open houses though, still wear a mask, Kris, right?
Open houses, you have to wear a mask still.
Because we don't know if people have been vaccinated or not.
Right.
But again, from what Michele is saying, that may have already changed as well. So yeah.
Well, the open house rule, that is just, which I guess to me, you're in a smaller space than like a grocery store stuff, because people are going to compare it to that. You're in a smaller space. You know, they took away the social distancing, so there's limits on the number of people in open houses anymore either. Unless you're, you know, the only limits are for over 5,000 people. So I don't think we're doing that.
No more tiers, no more COVID forms.
Yeah, so we are going to have to, Peggy, Michele, Rachel, and I are going to have to update our office policy on this, obviously. And we will send it out so everyone can see it, because we do have to make sure everyone reads the new one like we did last time. And on that, it's basically, we're just going to put on there what the OSHA guidelines are and follow those. Patty had a question about if we have to sign in. I didn't see anything on that anymore. So I'm saying no. Any other questions?
We're not requiring it. We're not requiring it.
Any other questions on open houses, office?
Kris, so for the open houses, you said we have to wear masks. Does that mean everybody coming into the open house is we have to ask them to put a mask on?
Yes.
Okay.
For now.
So you're going to want to make sure you have some there as well.
Yeah. And they, on the car legal one, they did talk about if someone, you know, insists they have a medical issue, they say they could wear those face shields. But I think most people are complying, and most people are just following the rules just to get this over with. So I don't think we're gonna have too much problem, but yes, for now, anytime inside the house, they have to have a mask on for open houses.
I have a question. What about having vendors coming into the office? I had one come in the other day, didn't even think about asking, but can we invite them to come in and all that?
Our office policies, as you can see on this slide right here. Can you guys see my screen? You can see my screen. It basically says whatever our policy is, and we've all agreed, including Suzanne and so forth, that it's back to normal. We're not making everybody sign in or anything like that.
Okay.
But we just have to be smart.
There's no maximum occupancy. I mean, I know there is, but like there's no limit. It's just regular back to whatever.
It says conducting meetings inside the office, same as above. Follow the above guidance regarding face coverage, physical distancing, your office policy rules. Obviously, with bold, we are spreading each other out. We're not going to be on top of each other. However, I do know, people want to start participating in the offices. Yes, and I get it. They want to see meetings in the offices. They want to see productivity coaching in the offices. And we are going to start doing that until, God forbid, something changes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And the cool thing is when we have team meetings, the main ones will be on Zoom. However, the front desk will be putting the team meetings on the TVs in the larger areas. So you can be there with each other.
Nice. That's nice, Michele. I like that.
What was that?
I said, that's nice, Michele. I like that.
Thank you. I don't know who that is, but thank you. I can't tell. I can't tell. It's hard to see who's talking on these. when
So
we-
Steve, yes, anyone going into the open house does need to wear a face mask for now. And that, like I said, that could change. We don't know exactly until it all comes out tomorrow. But for now, yes. I think there was another
Yeah,
question.
Danny asked for the forms we need to modify for the current listings and the verbiage that needs to be used. Thank you. We're going to be, I'm going to send out this slideshow and you'll get
And
it.
it's on one of the slides, yes.
Yeah, I'll look for it right now, but
It was back up a few slides. It was in the first few slides. So.
yeah. I'll send it out.
Okay, so starting to go over the new forms that came out June. This is a new form, transfer of listing agreement. This makes it easier when people come or go from a brokerage. We've already been doing a version of this. And it just helps everyone understand your buyers, sellers, who is in charge of their file now, saying that we are, like, if someone leaves us, we do this and they know, it states in here that we no longer have a relationship with you. It is with all the new broker. Okay. So this is just a new one. So if people are coming on and they're worried about, how, doing everything, this just makes it easier. So, and then you'll see the principal, which is your buyer or seller, and then both brokers sign it. And the other new one that's probably going to be the one that everyone's going to hate. So now we had the fire hardening disclosure. Now this is fire hardening and defensible space. As of July 1st, the defensible space came in as required. So the defensible space is not only the fire hardening was stuff about the home and the sprinklers and things like that. This is the however many feet out from the house have to be cleared and free of debris, things like that, has been added into this form. They put it into one form so we didn't have several. So this form will be required now, not just if the home was built after or before 2010. If you're in a high fire zone, high or very, it will always be required. The first part explains it. The fire severity zone, you put whether it is in high, it's going to be. They put this on there where it's circled in blue because some brokers are requiring it all the time. Rachel and I decided it will only be required on high or very high fire zones.
When it's actually required by car.
Right.
And how
Well,
do
not
you
by
know?
car, by law.
Yeah. And how do you know if you need to use this form or not? Anybody know? How do you find out if your listing is going to be in a high fire zone?
Natural hazard disclosures?
NHC?
Correct. So order that. That's where you get your information. The new listing agreement has an area on that where it's going to say that the seller will order that upon signing the listing agreement. And then when we get that information, then we will know if we need to use this form or not. And then the other thing we need to keep in mind is that what's going into effect July 1st is if it closes on or after July 1st. So it's not just transactions that start July 1st. So for some of us who have long, listings or long transactions that are for whatever reason lengthy, I seem to have a few of those, that may not have been required at the time. If it closes after July 1st, and if it's in a high fire zone, I need to add that form. It will be required. And the new defensible space requirement will also go into effect, which Kris will go into more of that. So we need to know that.
So with the defensible space, there's going to be local ordinances, whether there's an inspection needed or not. And there's places to check whether it is. You're going to have to find out from that local, wherever you're doing it, that local, what their ordinance is. And you can find that out from, usually the local fire department will know. And they will also be able to tell you where, are you too far ahead, Michelle? There you go. That'll also tell you who does the inspections. Some it's CAL FIRE that does it, and some they said they have specific people at the fire departments. CAR was trying to get a list together to give out. I hope they do. That will help us for the counties and the cities that do have the ordinances. And they are working on that. So that is our new form for defensible space. So just make sure.
Could you talk about the buyer supplement offer letter?
That comes later.
Yeah.
I just see it right here. Okay.
Yeah, that's in the next thing. That's what I'm gonna talk about next. In the residential listing. So go back up. Keep going up. Keep going.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, so you're right there. Okay, so the next one, the revisions. Okay, you can go to we did that one, Michelle.
Okay. So that's where I was. I was right here where it says.
Now go down again.
Oh my.
One more. Sorry. Okay, this right there. Stop.
Okay.
Oh, nope, next one. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
No, it popped back up. There. Oh, wait. Now you went too far. It's your screen's going crazy.
Oh, you know what? So it just needs to catch up, you guys.
Okay. I'm like, okay. So now I'm going over the forms and what they revised on them. So on the residential listing agreement, what was revised is explaining to sellers about supplemental offers letters, the buyer's love letters. So now you have where seller instructs broker not to present buyer letters, seller instructs broker to present buyer's letters, and it explains that it's against our broker advice. So you still want to, but now they actually added it into the listing agreement also. And then they added the investigation and report. Seller agrees within 5 days of the beginning date of this agreement to order, and when required by service provider, pay for natural hazard disclosure report and the following reports. So now they actually put in here that if the seller is getting any inspections done, they agree to order them within 5 days, and they can check which ones. So this is also stating, hey, get your NHD within the 5 days also. So you have that. That way you'll know if you're in a high or very high fire zone and know which disclosures to do and not have to wait.
Yeah.
But they put in the structural pest general inspection, because now we're seeing more, over here, like the Bay Area, where the sellers are getting inspections done. So those are the changes on that page. Okay, next.
So Kris, really quick, as our brokers and Rachel, are you all still advising that we tell our sellers not to read those letters, not to read the letters from the heart?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because something can be construed as violating one of the fair housing laws, and they don't even know it.
And now by putting it in the listing agreement, it's basically that now we're letting the sellers know, hey, we it's your option, but you need to be aware of the risk by doing that. So instead of us just being the one advised not to do it now, they're putting it in the listing agreement so that the sellers are now being given that information as well.
So what if our clients, they say, no, I want to take my listing, but I want to see every part of the offer. Then what?
Then you let them know, read that to them. If you read, Michelle, go back up to it. In there, okay, so it says, broker advises seller that buyer letters may contain information about protected classes or characteristics, and such information should not be used in seller's decision of whether to accept, reject, or counter a buyer's offer. If seller relies on buyer letters, seller is acting against broker's advice and should seek advice of counsel before doing so. So they're saying you need to be careful, because if somebody comes back, which is happening, and says, well, you didn't give me the house because I have kids.
Right.
Whether they decided it that way or not, they can just make it up. So you want to highly advise them not to read them. They can read them after. Read them after you just make a decision. That way you can say, you've signed it, and
right.
you read it after the fact.
Can we let buyers agents know that, if they send these letters, that our seller signed the listing agreement that way, saying they will not read those letters, only take just their offer because that was agreed to by taking the listing?
Yes, and what you would do then is you would do to the listing agreement and put seller's instructions on there and attach it to the MLS. And say, seller is not reviewing, do not send them. And remember, attach everything to the Metro list when it's you putting in as a seller instruction. We're
Right.
getting a ton of things back that say, no, you're violating the rules of MLS. So
Right.
make sure you put those in. Any seller instructions need to be on an addendum and attached to the MLS. So you can put all that stuff on one addendum, the date you want to review offers, the date they're saying the showings are from, that can all be on there. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Can you see me reading the chat box right now? When I have the screen up, can you see this? Yes? Or
Yes.
no? You can't. Okay. Because you guys, some of these are sent to me privately, so be aware of that it's not going to be private because I can't read them if I'm sharing my screen. So just FYI. Thank you.
Okay, and with all the coming soon issues, go back up, Michelle. Back up to the coming.
It's right here, coming soon, right here.
Yeah.
It's just low. We're in
All
low
right.
die.
Hey, can we back up for just a second?
One more.
So if we read those letters to them after the fact, it seems like there's some disclosure duties there. Let's say that when the clients, our seller asks us, well, what do they do for a living? I mean, they're trying to qualify them in their mind as well, right? Besides the letter. And you say, oh, the guy's a fireman. Well, maybe the guy likes firemen better than he does farmers, whatever the case is. We can't advise, but if we know the information and they ask us, we're just going to tell them, sorry, I can't tell you that. I mean, that's kind of a qualification thing. What do they do? Where do they work at? Questions like that are pretty legitimate questions that shouldn't sway them which way they're going to go, but it's a legitimate question if they're trying to see who's buying their house.
I would try to give them the information they're looking for very carefully. Just make sure that you're also telling the seller at the same time that there are a lot of issues going on. Just make them aware. Use that as an opportunity to bring up what's happening to listing agents and sellers being sued because it's so competitive right now, and just say, I'd be happy to share that information, but this also brings up a good opportunity for me to explain to you what's happening in the marketplace, something that you should be aware of. There's a lot of people that don't get their offers accepted, and there are a lot of lawsuits happening right now. You should know that we have to be very careful because of the protected classes. So just, use that as a way to show your sellers that you're protecting them once again, while somewhat giving them the information they're looking for.
Okay.
And I would have to say, if I was your seller and you guys read me a letter and it was coming from the heart, that would be so hard not to listen to.
Right.
And change my mind, because I am that way.
Right.
I have a question. If we receive one of those letters with an offer, are we obligated to even tell the seller that we have it?
Yes.
Yes.
Why? It's not part of the contract.
Right.
But it is part of the contract. When everything that was sent to you, you have to disclose to this. You have to tell them you got.
It says here, no, it is not part of the offer, but agents or buyers are submitting them with our, because I receive them, but it says here, Rachel.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's not part of the offer.
It's not part of the offer. So if it's not part of the offer, why the hell do we have to tell somebody about it? I never do. I just throw them away, to be honest with you. I haven't told sellers that I have it.
That's a good question.
I agree.
I actually, Kris, when I've looked into that before, the only way I got my buyer's letters to be part of the offer is I would make it an addendum to my offer. So I would agree with Steve that it's not incorporated to the offer. It's just extra fluff that I may or may not, it's up to me to include or not include, because it's not embedded into the contract.
Right. We put our sellers and ourselves at risk by submitting them. So, but I think that this is why this is now coming into the listing agreement, because of now people that are submitting them are also fighting back, right? So, and as Steve Rowland said, sometimes sellers want to see some of this information.
Yeah, but isn't that, that's the lender's job to find out if the people are qualified. That's what I
Right.
feel my job is to say this buyer is qualified to buy it, period. My job is not to say, oh, they're wonderful people. They've got this darling little kid and he plays baseball down the street and they've got friends around the corner. What does that have to do whether the people are actually qualified to buy the property? That's my job, is what I've been taught. My job is to present the facts, not emotions. If we get into presenting emotions, then why even have the damn lender letter? Oh, these are wonderful people. They'll come up with the money somehow. Is that what we're doing? I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm being facetious about this, but I've been around longer than a lot of you, and I've seen the progression of this, and to me, it's nonsense. Sorry, I'll shut up.
No. And that's why it's now being brought into the listing agreement. I think when it first came out, CAR was telling us no, right, Kris? They said, don't accept them, don't submit them, tell your sellers, have the conversation with your sellers.
Yes.
And because of all the trouble, but I think people started rebutting and fighting back. And so that's why it's now coming into play. Now we need to get this signed in the listing agreement. So once we start doing this right here, where the seller checks whether or not they want them to be submitted or not, then we just have to be even more careful. Because if they do want them, well, then now it's in writing that they want to see them. So, when they respond to an offer, they need to be really careful, right? So to me, that's almost like putting in writing. They can't really deny it. So, if something does come up later, right, that they didn't see, letters. Yeah.
So then what we'll start seeing is we'll see lenders going, yes, your buyers are very well pre-approved. He's been a fireman for 30 years and they grew up in Manteca. They're really qualified. Gee, I got to send that pre-approval letter to my seller. You'll see a few changes if it actually goes that way. So flip side is, as a buyer's agent, are we forbidden with the new contract of submitting love letters?
No.
So, so we can do it as a buyer's agent, submit them, but as a seller, we just can't present them without basically.
Shove it in there in between the pages somewhere. That way it takes extra work.
Is there a place for the seller to initial
Oh,
on
wait, this
here?
is recorded, isn't it? Did I say that?
Is there a place on the contract here for the seller to initial whether they want to receive them or not? There doesn't look like there's a spot for it. It just says A or B. But I mean, is there?
There's a little square that by B that says seller instructs broker to present buyer letters. Otherwise, it's assumed no.
Got it. Okay, there it is. All right.
It's a little bitty box.
No.
All right.
I have a question about investigations and reports real quick.
Okay.
For my sellers, I will go ahead and do a roof inspection and a pest inspection, and I cover that. But do I still have to have them check anything on E if it's me, or only if they pay for it?
I think it's only if they pay for it, right?
Yeah.
Now, for the NHD report or the prelim, because now, and I can see why, this is what I think, the reason why they're now putting that in there, because the NHD report is like automatic. That's not an optional checkbox.
Mm-hmm.
That's because of the new fire, home hardening and defensible space, which, a lot of times to order the NHD report, you've got to pre-open escrow. Which kind of goes against the buyer choosing, right? So that's why it has to be in these instructions that the seller is doing that for these reasons. So that's not the agent's choosing.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so the famous coming soon. With MetroList, go back up. It's yours. There we go. With MetroList, as soon as you put a sign in the yard, your days on market have to start counting. It doesn't matter if you do, the seller says don't don't put on the market till such and such a date. If a sign goes up, that's advertising and marketing, which doesn't make sense to me. It's not on the MLS, not ready for offers yet, but that's Metrolist rules. Bay East is a little different. They have a coming soon area where their days on market do not start. And I think there's a couple others too. So now they have on here, does not authorize broker to you as coming soon. That's where you have to explain to your client that if I put a coming soon sign up, our days on market, and if we're coming soon for 2 weeks, once we go active, it's going to show us 14 days already. So that's where you're going to have to explain that to them if they want the coming soon sign up, until it's enough people, I guess, get on Metrolist's case and ask to change it. So they added that. All right, next one, Michelle. Okay, statewide buyer and seller. They made a few changes to this one. They put this new, like, I guess, index of where to look for everything, tells you what page everything is on, so you can go straight to it. If one of your clients has a question about a specific thing, you don't have to run through to try to find it. You can see it on here. Next.
Where's that at when you're?
This is on the statewide buyer and seller advisory.
Oh, okay.
So now they also added the fire hardening defensible space information on there about that. They added that paragraph in there, number 14. So that explains it to your clients. Next. And they also included wildlife now, because we're having issues with wildlife coming into town as new builders are building. I have a possum and a raccoon, and I'm in the middle of Tracy. And they also included the coastal tides for properties that are there. Sea level rises, goes down. I guess some people don't know that. And with just everything happening in the world with supposed global warming, everything like that, everything is going up and down. So they had to put that in there. So any questions on the SBSA? I know they added a few good things, so.
Hey,
Okay.
guys, I have a question for you real quick. I see the animals and it reminded me of something. I grew up out in the country, and I have a lot of, family and friends, when their dog or cat or whatever dies, they bury it. Does that have to be disclosed? I've always wondered that, but I've never had to deal with it before.
That's a good question.
Not that I'm aware of, but I can ask that to Gov that question too if I'm sending.
It's not a big deal. I was just curious.
No, I've never heard, but yes, I know what you're saying.
Once we ask Kyle, you're going to open up a big old, I can just imagine where this is going to go.
All right, never mind.
Didn't want to know that, Kyle.
It's recorded, buddy.
I've had clients ask me that, and it's been so long that they've asked. I don't even know what the car said.
That's like a real question, not all this other stuff that we've had over the last year and a half, 2 years. What? A real estate question?
Now, if they die in the house, maybe.
Yeah. Okay,
New
so
disclosure.
on the
I
exempt
tell them
seller
that there's animals
disclosure.
buried out there. I tell them if someone's lived there, they've buried some of their pets. I don't show them the graves, but I show them where, they live in the country, and people do that sometimes. Don't know how many, where they are.
People do that in the city too if they have bigger yards.
Yeah.
Like they dig up bones, it could be an animal instead of being.
Disclosure requirement, Steve, which is anything that, a buyer may consider important to them. So that's good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the exempt seller disclosure, they took out the or landlord because landlords were using this in the wrong way, I guess. And then added about the non-compliant plumbing fixtures. They added that to be on there as an added disclosure on this for the exempt seller when no TDS is used. Okay, this next one is the lease listing agreement, because I know a lot of us are, doing leases now, where we do the lease, get the buyer, and get out. Okay, so this lease listing form added 10 and death on premises and the 10-0, the material facts. Any other material facts you want to let them know. They added that onto this lease listing agreement for the seller to fill out for you to help you with these questions. Next. And it also goes over when the agency actually terminates. So it basically says that we are not the property manager after we get you a buyer. They have added that onto the lease listing agreement. Any questions on that at all? Okay, on the sellers, they just made a few little changes on here. They added in the verbiage under 1A, or identifying a suitable property to move to, because not everybody purchases. Sometimes they are going into a rental. So this is covering things like that also, that if they have to find a suitable rental to move into, it also does that. And then obviously that stuff is on there. And any questions on that at all? Simple.
The free referral agreement? No.
Yes, I have a question about that.
Okay.
Okay, so this actually happened recently, and I have a friend who works at the Tracy office, and they were out of town, and I was showing them property. Are we showing property for them to their clients? Are we allowed to, like if me being in Manteca, the other agent being in Tracy, are we allowed to co-work on a escrow for a
Yes.
buyer? We are.
Yes, there is forms for that. There is a additional brokerage form, and there is an additional agent form.
Oh,
Depending on what. There are forms for that now.
However, we need to be careful, which we've talked about this before, since we have different brokers and different E&O, all of that. If let's just say your buddy from Century 21 needs you to help them with an open house, you can't do that. You're not covered. You're not covered.
Yes, we do have to be careful on that.
Yeah, we really prefer, I think, within our office that we do it as a referral when it's between different brokerages.
Yeah. It's easier because otherwise it's double the paperwork. You have to have paperwork in both offices, you know. It's becomes a sticky situation, and then they can sue double. Because they can sue brokerage.
Oh, yeah.
Even more.
Fair enough.
Most
So,
definitely.
yeah, just be very
And
careful.
also with the referral agreement, I don't care if it's like office, you know, like Desiree referred something to Ashley here in Lodi. A referral agreement needs to be filled out. Because if not, it's like, well, she said it was 25%. No, it was supposed to be 30%. And she had to do X, Y, and Z. And guess what? I am not your mom. I can't do anything about it. I wasn't part of that conversation. And so this is the only document that I will refer back to. If it's not filled out, sorry, you didn't do, you know, the required documents. And if we take it to the DRE, they're going to ask for this. So you need to make sure you fill out the referral agreement. And I don't even care if it's your best friend, you guys. I'm telling you, make sure you fill this out.
Yeah, agreed.
As soon as you, with another brokerage, as soon as you get an agreement saying, before you even give the name or contact information, give a name, obviously, but contact information, get this signed.
Chris, I'm not even talking about just another brokerage. I'm talking about our brokerage.
But we just had to deal, we just had to deal with another brokerage and one of our agents, and there was no referral agreement ever signed. Well, to me, there's no referral. I don't know. Like Michele said, we weren't there for the conversation. So this is a very important one. Now they added some verbiage. Before it, I think it just said to buy, to sell, to lease. Now they have enters or have already entered to contract to buy by that date. So if it closes after the date, they can't say, well, it didn't close within our time. It enters into contract within that time also. Okay, so that's what they added on there. Any questions on that one? Okay, on the property images, They added information about drone use and indemnification. Basically that the your photographer has all the correct licensing to be flying the drone where they're flying it. Okay. It takes us out that we are saying, hey, Mr. Photographer, you have the correct licensing. We are not being held liable if you don't. Okay.
Do we
So
need to
that
use
was
this in our
on there.
listing agreement if we know they're going to be droning the property?
And,
was that?
and who is signing it, Chris?
This is for the photographer and you,
Okay.
agent. Okay. And they changed a little bit of the cooperating broker compensation agreement. They added in that the buyer's broker, I believe, also signs when the depending on
Compensation.
which side is reducing, they're having both brokers acknowledge that they know that it's being done. Basically, it says management approval. So they added just a few things on there. Okay, and the agriculture addendum, they added the hemp and cannabis cultivation information. There is also a really good quick guide on CAR about hemp and cannabis. I can send that out to everybody. That was actually interesting to know what to do and say on that. So that was those. Okay, Michelle, now we need the escrow checklist. Okay, so before we go to the checklist, any questions on the newer revised forms?
Chris, did you say on the listing agreement, if their commission's going to be different, there's another form that has to be signed by the other agent saying they know that? I missed that.
No, that was the cooperating broker agreement. If you're changing your commission for any reason to maybe get your buyer in, then that has to be acknowledged on the cooperating broker agreement by both brokers. Okay. So it's for, if you're changing commission, you're letting both sides know.
I've got another question, Chris. Do we use the drone addendum if they're not doing drone footage for the property? Would that be something that's signed at all if they're not?
You should be getting this signed every time you use a photographer. I know a lot of us don't, and it's not required, but I would definitely use it if they're using a drone, with what they added. Technically, we're supposed to be doing it with every photographer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's 11:53, so we want to make sure we stay on time here.
All good then? Okay. Okay, so the checklist. How do you get paid? You make sure you have the mandatory items, okay? Or there's certain things if they apply. So on the listing documents, within 3 days of taking the listing, basically having everything signed, your listing agreement, you're going to want your listing agreement, your seller's advisory, your agency disclosure, your wire fraud, possible representation of more than one buyer or seller, your Privacy Act, your fair housing, your MLS printout if it's done, submitting the listing to KWLS and into command, and Stockton Tracy Lodi, I require the disclosure information advisory along with the listing because I was finding agents weren't explaining the disclosures to clients, and this does just explain that to them. Under the purchase docs, any questions on listing? Oh, Michelle, can you go down a little bit? There's also, so if it is in a trust, then you're going to need the representative capacity. I don't know is it moving like that for everyone else or just me? Up a little bit, Michelle. I'm still on the listing.
You said further down, so I went further down.
Oh, sorry, right there, good.
That's where I was.
Okay. The representative's capacity is needed if it's a trust, LLC, anytime it's not a person's name and they have a corporation, anything like that, You're going to need the representative capacity. That's why if it applies. The notice of non-submission of listing to MLS or the equivalent MetroList form, if that applies. If it's a probate, then you're going to need the probate addendum. And if it's probate, make sure you're using the probate listing agreement right now. Or if it's a short sale or mobile home, make sure you're using the correct purchase agreement. And that will all listing agreement, I'm sorry, that'll all be changing, I believe, in December. I think they're doing for listing and purchase, putting them all on one contract, and then you just click buttons to add the addendums. But we'll see in December what happens. So make sure you're using the correct addendums, probate, if those apply. Anything to add, Rachel, on those?
Nope, sorry.
Okay. Purchase docs. Okay, so again, make sure you're using the correct purchase agreement for what applies to what you're doing. If it's a duplex or more, use the residential income purchase agreement, okay? Because it adds some verbiage in there that you need for the tenants that are in there or the tenant side if you're living in one.
Yeah.
Again, represents capacity, same thing. If it's in a trust LLC, anytime it's not a person's name, you need that represent capacity to let us know who the actual person that's authorized to sign. Any addendums to the RPA? If there are any counters, and things in red are the things that are required, and they'll say required in command. So page 10 of the RPA, we need that signed and executed by escrow. EMD receipts. Let's see, extension of time if it applies. We'll need the property tax profile, the MLS printout, the pre-qual and proof of funds. Those are required. Optional would be, if they apply, agricultural addendum, and again, the probate, short sale, trust, and then also the seller's purchase replacement property if applies. And also, I didn't mention it, but the COP, the contingency for sale buyer's property, those only if apply. And then we also need W-9 from the listing side. We do have quite a few, but we just ask that you put it in there. Anything else, Rachel?
No.
So on disclosures, we require the AVID. If there's an additional agent acknowledgement, put that in there. If you have a licensed assistant that is going to be speaking on your behalf, you are going to want to do an additional agent acknowledgement for them to be able to speak on your behalf. Or if you have a partner that's going to be also speaking on your behalf regarding this transaction, that shows that they have authorization to do so and not just talk to you. Assignment of agreement is used if you're assigning a part, portion, all of an agreement, or adding a person to the contract. If in those cases that AOAA does say that you will go back and have all disclosures that have been previously signed. Bed disclosure, rent cap, just cause are needed if there's any rent back, sellers remain in possession, after close of escrow, even if it's for free, you still need those things done. The buyer's affidavit, properties under 300,000 if you're purchasing as an owner occupied. And the buyer's inspection election and buyer's inspection waiver is required pretty much if you have a home inspection done, because almost every inspection says that you have a certified person to look at something. So this tells the, go back up. This tells the buyer seller that, hey, we're not doing anything else. We understand that the home inspector said to get additional ones and we are not doing those. We are waiving those. Okay. Let's see, contingency removals, if any. Okay, go down now, Michelle. Next one for your protection. FHA loans need to have a 4-year inspection, get a inspection. If FHA, then there should be the FEAC, or sometimes FHA will have their own too that they want you to use, and VA also. You will need a FERP or a qualified substitute, which I highly recommend the qualified substitute. We don't want to have anybody's personal information in our files. Copy of the NHE, home warranty or home warranty waiver should be in there. Environmental hazard report is if homes built prior to 1960. Lead base is homes built before 1978. The home fire hardening is now is only required if high or very high fire area. We went over that. The market conditions advisory is highly recommended. It wouldn't hold up you getting paid, but we highly recommend it. The COVID is gonna, the COVID forms too. I forgot to mention that now that I saw this. Those are all 10 of the COVID forms are going away tomorrow. They're going to be removed from zip form.
Did I miss removing one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was good because notice of unforeseen COVID-19 if applied.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Okay. I'll correct
Sorry,
that before
it
I
reminded
forget.
me. So yeah, they're not even going to be in zip forms. So they're going to be gone, completely gone.
Right.
The TDS is required. REO advisory if it's an REO property. The SPQ, not required if ESD is used. If you're exempt from the
And I don't know if you have this concern, Kris, but I just want to make sure all the agents know, when would you use an ESD over a TDS? What transactions are they really exempt? Because people get confused, and sometimes it's from the other side where they say, oh, this isn't a trust or this. And so, they're not required. Whereas even though the trustee is the one living in the home. So, sometimes other brokerages, they take it a little bit too far, so to speak, and get our agents a bit mixed up. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you can only use the ESD if the seller is exempt from using the TDS, meaning if it's a bank-owned property, if it's a trust situation where the seller who lived in the home is deceased and it's now the what do they call them? The trustees that take over, so to speak, or in a probate where there's an executor to the estate. So it can't be, a trust where a revocable one where the seller is the trustee that lived in the home, so to speak. So everybody needs to know that, okay?
Perfect.
Any questions on that at all?
Perfect, Rachel.
Good. Okay, so again, short sale, there's a short sale information advisory that would be needed. Seller in possession if there's rent back, or for less, seller in possession if less than 29 days, sorry. And the RLAS if longer than 29 days. The agricultural land supplement questionnaire, again, if it applies, required square footage, lot size. And when you're doing the square footage and lot size, make sure you're attaching to that the copy of the, wherever you got the information from, whether it be the MLS, the tax roll, make sure you're attaching a copy when you send that, when you present it, or whatever side you're representing. Make sure that's in there. Oh, a little bit up, Michele. Okay, all right. So where was I? And trust advisory if it applies, statewide buyer and seller advisory, VP within 5 days, and you can get it. If they
Can you guys hear her?
No.
That agent's been doing it all of us. It's easier because it's packaged done. No. Can you hear me now?
I can. Go ahead.
Okay. So the water conserving plumbing fixtures is required on homes built prior to 1994. I just have been doing it on all mine just to keep my consistent. And water heater smoke detector is not required if the TDS is used. So if there's no TDS and you're using the exempt seller, then you will want to use the water heater and smoke detector. Okay. Reports, you're going to want full NHD report, the receipt page, to farm, if it applies. It doesn't apply to all counties. Wood burning stove does not apply to all counties. Mainly San Joaquin, Stanislaus it does. A lot of the Bay Area ones, it does not. It is not required. Prelims required. CCNRs, if there are any, HOAs, past home, full inspections of all these reports should go in there. Any and all inspections, anything you have done with the property needs to go into command. Because if something happens to your computer and down the line sued for something, even if you didn't do anything, and we don't have this to back us up, it does not help our case, okay? Request for repairs if applies, response, receipt repairs agreed upon if applies, receipt for reports, or if you do the first page of each report, that's fine too, because some do that. So either or is fine. Are you okay with that, Rachel?
Yeah.
Final HUD, the MLS sold. The other thing that's not on here that you guys, everyone's running a ton of offers right now with buyers, and as a listing agent, you're getting a bunch of offers. All those rejected offers also need to be in command, because the broker has to have be in contact, not contact, in able to pull any of those up at any given time. We did have a situation where there was multiple offers. Someone accused us of not having multiple offers. Thank goodness offers were in command, and we just showed DRE those, and they said, "Okay, done, gone." They didn't do any further investigation. So
yeah, I think it's important to really say that, Kris, because a lot of times we get pushback, right, from the agents. And you guys, we're not making these rules, we follow the rules. So I do realize there's other brokerages in the area that do not follow the rules, and they don't have to do this, but I'm sorry.
Well, they are supposed to have to.
Right. So, I mean, we have to protect Kris and Rachel and our brokerage.
And
you, the agent. And they're protecting you, the agent.
These things actually protect the agents as well. Yeah.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. So it's very important that, you know, just put them all into one, you know, scan them all as one. Say you have whatever, 30 offers, scan them all as one, put them in a rejected offers file when you have the listing. As a buyer's agent, because you can create your own tabs too, and just call it that, rejected offers. And for the buyers, you're going to make a buyer command file, just make an offer and, you know, make rejected offer 1, 2, or I'm okay waiting a couple of days and putting them all together and scanning them to get an accepted offer, but make sure you put them all in there. Because as the brokers, those are the brokers' papers, not the agents.
We have a question from somebody asking to make sure that they're acknowledged from the sellers, correct?
It's not law. It's a courtesy. I highly recommend us as agents doing it if we are rejecting.
Yeah.
It just takes away a lot of headache of that other agent calling us as brokers too, saying your agent won't sign it. Well, it's not required.
Right.
But as a courtesy, I would. They're trying to make it required, but right now it's not. Any other questions?
You're doing amazing, Kris. Thank you so much for taking the lead.
There was a lot of stuff to get through, you guys, and you will get these slides. So you can
been emailed out to everybody as well. So definitely review it, highlight where you have questions. You can send it over to Kris or Rachel, and we'll get that answer to you. Okay.
I'm going to update this checklist to add the section for rejected offers in command, and then remove that one COVID form that I accidentally left in there last night. And then I will forward this out.
Perfect. You guys, I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate our broker's time. So thank you so, so much. All right, you guys, anybody have any questions before we close out?
I have one more thought. Just to remind everybody that in December, there is a new RPA coming out. And CDAR and some of the other ones are offering a class on it in August. And a few other ones. So sign up for it. Definitely sign up for it because it's going to be 14 pages. They made some interesting changes. Some good, some not thrilled about, but highly recommend signing up for a class. I think it's $50 through CVAR, and I think it's $75 through CAR.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
Awesome.
highly recommend getting signed up for it.
Thank you so much. Hey, Patty, we went over that already this morning. I mean, before we started with Kris and Rachel regarding the company picnic that's going to be on the 23rd. However, if you do want to go back to the, there was the regional meeting that's going to be this Wednesday. So make sure you log on and you can see that. Okay, there we go. Yep, there. And it's also on our Facebook group. So make sure you are there and representing our offices. Of course, it's at 1 o'clock. All right, you guys, make it a great day. And thank you so much for showing up and being a part of your success.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.
It's good seeing everybody.